Hello, how are you today? Hope you're well. I'm joining you today to talk about lifestyle habits. Pardon me. So pelvic floor health, maintaining it or regaining it if it's feeling like it's problematic at the moment, isn't just about doing specific exercises. There's no magic one exercise. And it's not about a quick fix. And I want to talk to you about the lifestyle and how we can improve or make changes to our lifestyle to actually improve our pelvic floor. Because I talk a lot about my whole body approach, because it is just about how we use our body, what we do to our body, and how we think about our body. So I want to talk specifically about three really important areas that are actually can be quite simple things to change, but almost they're so simple that we don't know about it, or we've forgotten how to do it, or we've kind of become detached from these things, because I definitely believe that modern life has kind of gotten in the way of good health, of what is natural for our bodies. We've over-convenienced our life. That's not really a proper phrase, but we've become so convenient with online shopping and technology that takes over a lot of the physical things that we used to do, that we're not moving and using our body in the same way that we used to, and we're not living in the same way we used to. So technology enhances our lives in lots and lots of ways, but not every way. And I think it's important to get back to some of those simple things. So the first simple thing that I want to talk to you about is breathing. Something that we all do it without even thinking about it. So almost to say, yeah, breathing is an important thing almost seems like, well, that's obvious. Of course it's useful to breathe, but it's how we breathe, the quality of the breath. So specifically, breathing in and out through your nose is the best way to breathe. So not mouth breathing at all. So breathing in, breathing out through the mouth, through the nose, keeping the mouth closed. There are lots of health benefits anyway, not just to the pelvic floor, but breathing in and out through your nose is your gold standard, is what we should all be thinking about trying to do more often. And it'd be quite useful for you to notice if you are a bit of a mouth breather. So sometimes people breathe a lot at night through their mouth. For example, if you wake up and you feel very dry, you've got a dry throat and you're always needing to drink water, then maybe you're a mouth breather at night. If you snore, then you most likely are definitely a mouth breather. But breathing through the nose gets the most amount of oxygen into the body and just helps filter all of those germs out of the way, and it's just the best way to breathe. So that's the first sort of method, so breathing in and out through the nose. But to think about consciously counting the breath and spending time bringing some calming breath into the body is really going to help. So it helps manage the internal pressure system. So we've got our pelvic floor is part of our core, which is in the center of our body. So it includes our belly, our sides, our back, our pelvic floor, and our diaphragm at the top. So breathing helps maintain and regulate that pressure system. So it helps that we're not putting pressure down onto the pelvic floor. When we do breathe, our pelvic floor naturally relaxes. When we breathe in, our pelvic floor naturally relaxes, and when we breathe out, that's when our pelvic floor has its automatic function and contracts. So breathing is important from that point of view, to connect you with your pelvic floor and the function of it, so that it will start to think about and function automatically. Breathing in and down into pelvic floor is really useful if you feel like you have a tight pelvic floor, so it can help you connect to that area and just relieve some tension. Thinking about breathing in through the ribs, so not in the chest here. So a lot of people, it's very common when we feel stressed is to breathe into the chest, and if you can even watch yourself just naturally breathing in through in a mirror, and breathe in. If your neck muscles are kind of doing this, as you can see here, then you're breathing into this part of the body. So we can think about bringing the breath into the ribs, into the chest here, so that we are allowing the diaphragm to move down, the pelvic floor to move with the diaphragm. So the diaphragm and pelvic floor kind of, they're partners, they work together, and it just helps to, you know, help everything sit well and move well. The other thing to think about is thinking about expanding the rib cage all of the way round. So it can expand 360 degrees. It may not do. It may feel a little bit stuck, particularly if feel like you've got quite tight shoulders or a tight back. You might feel like those ribs feel a little bit stuck. So spending some time bringing the breath into the ribs can really help. The other thing with breathing, and I'll give you some examples of exercises, is you can use it to help calm you and relax you. And that helps with anxiety and stress levels, which can cause pelvic floor problems. And you will know that if you are somebody who goes for a wee when you are nervous, that is your nervous system, that is your body tensing and creating those issues for you. So breathing is really going to help. So one way of doing that is to take a breath in for 4 counts, and then as you breathe out, count for longer than 4. So you can count for 6 counts, you can count for 8 counts. So you take a nice deep breath in through the nose for 4, and then you breathe out for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or however long. So counting the breath and spending some time doing that, you can make it a daily practice. You can make it part of your work. So take a break from work and do some breathing. There's lots of different ways that you can play about with it. The key things is in and out through your nose, and think about bringing the breath into your ribs. You can then play around with the number of times the counts that you want to do, breathing in and breathing out. You can pause after a breath in and then pause after a breath out. So there's loads of different ways, but breathing is part of our lifestyle, but it's definitely something that we don't spend enough time doing, but can be so beneficial for absolutely everything. And I'm going to give you a reference. If you love reading more about these kind of health hacks and tips, there's an amazing book called Breath by James Nestor. And actually, funnily enough, the paperback is out today because I heard him in an interview. And that is an excellent book to read. It's really easy to read as well. He's a journalist, and he's kind of brought together all the best practices of breath and breathing. So if you want a book to kind of dive into and inspire you with your breathing practice, then that's a brilliant book to do. Okay, so that's my first kind of lifestyle thing that is really going to help. The next one is for you to think about how you use your body. How do you move throughout the day? What positions are you putting it in the most? So are some of those positions maybe harmful, maybe causing some tension, some tightness around your hips particularly? Are you spending a lot of time over a computer if you're working? Are you kind of hunched over a lot? Is this kind of position, this kind of forward leaning position, or even on a phone, is this your default position that you spend a lot of time doing? So the first thing is to think about your lifestyle, what you do with your body. Try and become more aware of your body, what it's doing, how it's spending its time, rather than just kind of sailing through life thinking about your to-do lists and what you need to get done. Bring it back to you, bring it back to your body and how you're moving this whole amazing system in the day. And when you kind of start to think about that, if you start to notice that some of those, you're spending a lot of time in positions that aren't feeling good, that maybe are causing tightness and stiffness and tension, an easy way to think about how to reverse that and combat that is think about moving your body in the opposite way. So one tip I gave out to somebody who came to one of my yoga classes last week was she was getting a lot of tension here. And again, there isn't just one magic exercise for any of these things because our bodies are all different. And we talked about it, and I sort of explained about how muscles can get tight through overuse, through poor alignment, but also sometimes certain muscles are kind of more helpful than others. So particularly these muscles, your traps here that run along here, can generally be very helpful muscles that they'll kind of they'll kick in when we try and lift stuff, rather than using our back muscles here. So one of the ways of kind of combating some of this harmful positioning that we're putting our body in is to open up the body. So if we're spending a lot of time like this in this hunched position, you can lie on the floor, bring your arms out to the side, and think about opening the chest. So wherever you are, if you're doing this a lot, think about doing this to combat it. Okay, and if you're doing a lot of sitting, where your knees are they're kind of up and they're in this right angle position, think about doing some standing up, moving the hips around, alternating the position that you're in. 8 hours if you're working is a long time to spend sitting down. It's too long for the body. That's why we end up getting aches and pains, and then we go to bed and we blame it on our mattress and we blame it on the bed or poor quality sleep. But the chances are it's how you've spent your body, how you've spent the day using your body. That's what's causing aches and pains, and that will definitely not help if you are already experiencing pelvic floor problems. So thinking about being conscious of what you're doing with your body is the first step to changing your lifestyle. And once we have an awareness, then it's almost automatic that we start to think about better ways. If you think, oh gosh, I've just been sitting down for 4 hours and I didn't even notice, maybe that'll inspire you to go out for a walk. Maybe it will inspire you to put the radio on and do some dancing and do moving around, or do some house chores if you work at home instead of sitting for that length of time. So you can still be productive, but just think about moving your body in different ways. And my big tip to help you move a little bit more in your day is to plan it at the very start by choosing the clothes that you're going to wear. So if you're wearing tight clothes that are going to feel restrictive, that's not going to help you move. So if you are you're in a tight skirt or tight trousers or a jacket where you can't move freely, you're less likely to get changed and into some exercise gear or some comfy clothes to move around. You're just not likely to do it. So if you start your day, and this is really helpful for everyone who works at home or is at home a lot, to plan what you're going to wear and make sure you can move in it. Make sure that you can move your legs and move your hips and it feels comfortable. That doesn't have to be joggers. If you're not a jogger type person, that's cool, but think about the items in your wardrobe that you've already got that actually allow you to move. Maybe there's a skirt that allows you to move a bit better. Maybe there are some trousers that are just nice and comfortable, and make sure you're in those comfortable clothes. And by all means wear exercise clothes even if you're not exercising, but that is one less barrier to you moving more. If you are all ready to move whenever you want, so that whenever you want to take a break from working or whatever you're doing, you can just literally get up and move straight away. Okay, so that is number 2, how you use your body, and then trying to think about reversing some of those poor habits if you feel like you've got into them. And then the final lifestyle thing, which is so important, is to think about your feet. So I skirt around this a lot, but I'm just going to come straight out and say that barefoot is best for your health. Okay, so wearing barefoot shoes but spending more time barefoot around your house. And what I mean by barefoot, not always literally barefoot. If you've got cold floors or you're going outside and it's going to cause harm to the soles of your feet, not literally barefoot, but that is also nice. I'm talking about barefoot shoes as well. So thinking about the sorts of shoes that you're putting your feet in. And I'll tell you why, and then I'll go back and talk a little bit about barefoot shoes. Your feet are the foundations of your whole body health. So starting with your feet, they need to be strong, they need to have space to move around, they will help you balance well. They need to be able to spread wide. And once we get that foundation right, once we get the feet right, then the rest of the skeleton can move really well. It can stack really nicely. So we work all the way up through the skeleton, including the pelvis, so the pelvis can sit nicely, the ribs can sit on top, and everything else starts to fall into place. Quite often when people are experiencing lower back pain, hip pain, knee pain, you can actually trace that down to the feet. And that is the first place that I would start with anybody, is to look at the feet. Look at what the feet are doing. You know, look at your own feet. What shape are your feet? Have your feet become more shoe-shaped than foot-shaped? And you know what I mean, if you've got shoe-shaped feet, that your feet kind of start to go in a little bit. The big toe starts to curve round. You might even have the beginnings of bunions. They've become moulded by all of those shoes, all of those amazing, lovely shoes that we all get sucked into buying because they're fashionable. But we should move away from this social construct of fashion, that we need to be fashionable. We need to wear shoes that have got platforms, heels, support. Your feet don't need all of that. They might need it now because you've always put your feet in those shoes. So if you're listening to this thinking, no, my feet definitely need support, I need to have arch support, and I've got some inserts and all of this because I've been assessed and I need that. Yeah, they need that because you've kind of bolstered them for a long, long time and your feet have become weak. So if you're one of those people at the moment, you are relying on supportive shoes, then for you can think about transitioning back into back to barefoot, because we were all born barefoot. We all learn to walk without shoes on. If you look down, if you've got toddlers who are learning to walk at the moment, or young children that are still in their early days of walking but fairly steady, their feet are going to be so strong, and they're pointed directly forward. They're not turned out. They're not. Their toes aren't kind of turning into sort of shoe-shaped feet. They are strong and they are capable, and they spend a lot of time just in their socks or bare feet. And we kind of seem to know that when we have children, and we make sure our children can build strong feet. But the minute we start to think about putting shoes into fashionable footwear, that's when we lose our strength and mobility in our feet, and it's vital for pelvic floor health. It's vital for whole body health. It's not just your pelvic floor, but lower back function, core strength, and everything. That's why it's important. Barefoot shoes specifically are really useful, really make a big health impact for you when you're out and about. So when you're not at home and you need to wear something protective on your feet, barefoot shoes are the option that you have a think about. Have a look and Google barefoot shoes and see what's out there. But a barefoot shoe, in essence, is I looked around because I thought I might have one in here, but I haven't. They are a shoe without a heel. The base of the shoe is just a supportive layer. It's thick enough for you not to get like stones or sharp things in your feet. It's almost like a tyre in that sense, but it's thin enough for you to feel the ground. And what's great about a barefoot shoe is that you can connect with the ground and feel much more grounded whilst you're out walking than you can with a shoe with a heel on it, with a padded solid heel. And a funny thing is, when I first bought some barefoot shoes for my son, he'd worn, because they didn't do them in a really small size, he'd worn like the flattest ones I could wear, but with hard soles for a little while when he was walking. But then as soon as his feet were big enough, I put him into barefoot shoes. And I remember we went to the park and he put them on and he was like, oh, there's something in my shoes. So we stopped and we had a look and was like, no, there's nothing in your shoes. And he walked again, he was like, no, there's something in my shoes. So we checked the other one. And then he was like, I can feel all the stones. And then I was like, I twigged and thought, yes, you can feel all the stones, but you can feel them through your shoes. And that's a good thing, because for him, that's developing his sensory awareness of where he is going to help his balance. And that's going to do the same thing for you. So you get that lovely connection to the ground. It just helps you walk in a really kind of optimized position. So when you're out walking, doing a bit more movement, and then your feet are in a really kind of neutral, good, strong position. The other feature with a barefoot shoe is that it's got a wide toe box. So the bit at the end where we put our toes is wide enough for the feet to spread wide, and they're very flexible. So you can, you know, when you're not wearing the shoe, you can kind of bend it backwards and forwards. So it just allows the foot to kind of move and do all of the things that it needs to do. So I often I'm very tentative around this suggestion, because there is a cost implication to wearing barefoot shoes. But you know, we all spend a lot of money on certain things. There's probably something in your life that you spend a lot of money on, whether that's getting your nails done or, you know, items of clothing. So I'm going to be a bit more sort of forceful in a way and say to think about putting your well-being first above all of those things. So you'll do things for your well-being right now, I'm sure you do. I hope you do. I hope you invest in things. And actually that could include, you know, buying new clothes for yourself. That helps your well-being. Well, thinking about the shoes that you wear on your feet, whilst may not be the most glamorous decision or may not be the most exciting, it's going to be one of the most beneficial things that you could do for your well-being. Just think about barefoot shoes. If that's not within your budget at the moment, have a look at what shoes you have got and think about and try and find some of the shoes that are the flattest or the most flexible or the widest, and try and wearing those more, okay? Because they are going to help you, and they're going to alleviate those, you know, long-term health problems that we all start getting, that we see so many times. So it doesn't become, rather than trying to correct problems all the time, we start to think about being proactive with our health and thinking about what we can do for our health, rather than, you know, waiting until we need fixing. Okay, so those are my lifestyle 3 top tips, which I'll just recap. So that's breathing. Think about breathing. Think about purposefully spending time breathing, counting breathing in and out through your nose. The second one is think about how you use your body. Think about developing your awareness of your body, and think about whether it's, you know, it's a good way of moving, and then how you could actually combat some of those more harmful positions. And then the final thing is your feet. Look after your feet. Put them in the best thing that you can that's going to nurture your whole body. Let your feet be feet, because that's what they want to be. That's what they were meant to be. They're there to be strong and mobile and take you wherever you want to go. So I hope you found that useful. If you got any questions or comments or thoughts or ideas, then do pop them in the comments. And I will see you all very soon. Take care.